Welcome, guys. Welcome. Hey, thanks to everybody who is here. I really appreciate you dropping in and checking out what we're doing today. So, today it's going to be really cool. I'm really into genuine people, kind people, people who aren't judgmental, that just feel like one of your friends from a long time ago. And today I've got somebody with me that I put in that category fully. And so I want to introduce you guys, anybody that doesn't know. This is Mr. Basic. Mr. Basic, how are you, my friend?
Hey,
how are you doing?
Nice to be here.
I'm glad you're having me. Well. No problem. I'm really glad you're here. And I know that we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. We've got some people that are in the chat that are saying what's up, what's going on, Phil and Inky at Damn Cat Studios. We got Phil back, Inky at Damn Cat Studios. And Mr. Basic's in here saying hello. So come on through. And anybody that's watching it on playback, thank you very much. My name is Will. And this is just a thing that I call the Rat Chat. Now let's be clear. This is not the snitch chat. This started because my daughter drew me as a character a long time ago, and she drew me as a animated rat character. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna look like a rat. I guess I don't know. When a 5-year-old draws you a picture, you don't look at it and say, "Redo it." That's disgusting. So anyway, that's how it's been for me. Is I've tried to keep this little guy, and he's been different things. At one time, he was the head of a little group that I was trying to put together. And at other times, he's been part of apparel. But this little guy is me. And today, what you got is Mr. Basic. So we're going to get into some different gear talk. We're going to talk about life a little bit. I know he's excited. I'm excited. So
you got the Rat Pack thing going on there with the suit and tie, or with the white shirt and tie. Totally
that
right.
Actually does make sense. I never even thought about it like that. So I can put on a tie if I have to, I guess. And I think that this is important. And I want to show respect to the people that take the time to come and hang out with me for however long it is. I try not to put too much pressure onto this thing. So whatever happens, happens. So we won't worry too much about the time and all that stuff. We'll just have a good time and just yuck it up. So
I'm really happy to be here. The thing is, like we already found out that we don't have any problem just talking on and on about things. We were almost going to do the whole stream in our test and had to stop.
I know. I did. I had to shut it down for a little bit just so that we could save some of this good stuff. And let me tell you, like, everybody has their experiences in life, I think. And I don't know that we're all that different. I mean, I think that so there's been this like thing about DAW-less things and hardware jamming. And really, when I was like in high school, it finally dawned on me that like genres was a thing. Like it never even really occurred to me. Like in my mind, actually, this is even after high school. This is like 18, 19. Like this is how clueless I was to music. I was a heavy metal guy. I just listened to heavy metal. That was it. That's what I grew up on. I didn't grow up on it, but my parents were like classic rock. So I don't know. I was just a kid from the North. And you just listen to all this stuff. And then when you leave the state and I joined the military, and you know what? I was introduced to so many different things. And then there was like East Coast rap, West Coast rap, Southern rap, Midwest. That was pretty much my genres. And like, I didn't really go outside of that. And now we've got now I understand. I mean, techno's been around forever, but there's so many different styles and types.
Yeah, absolutely. and I think that's the thing is, if you listen to a lot of music and keep listening to a lot of music and just keep reaching out to hear more and more. See, I've found that there's so many genres and just totally different types of music and music in different languages, and even that I thought I didn't like, and I had this narration in my head like, oh well, I don't like that stuff. I'm more into this. I'm more into that. Not into that. But the more I listen to things, like the less I feel that way. The more music I listen to, just bar none. Like
it seems like creative people just come from everywhere. And in my recent attempt to try to like reach out to new people and whatnot, I've just found like, you've got people that are just getting started into music production, and you got people that are getting back into it after a long hiatus. Then you got people who are still considered newbies, but maybe have a little bit more experience. But the genre thing, it just never really worked for me. I don't know about you, but like, I just can't find like a suitable genre. And I don't even like that idea of boxing yourself into something that to me, it just never seems like that's it. One day I just really like hearing the sounds of, synth notes playing with nothing else.
Oh yeah, I just found out, even just registering for Bandcamp, you have to say, well, you have to limit yourself to a certain amount of genres. Like you have to say you're this, or this, and even just to limit myself to 3 was like, like, how do I do that? It's like, okay,
right.
Just things that totally run the gamut.
And
so like,
what do you do?
Focus down. Is there something wrong with me?
Right. No, there's not. I think we are all kind of similar. Like, I think that people that have focused in on the financial side of the music production have got that. Like, they've honed in on, if I want to do this and make money and change my life or change my situation, then I need to hone in on what it is that is going to get me to an income the quickest way.
Yeah, it's necessary. And and although I'm not doing it at the moment, I'm in a different phase of
whoops. Sorry about that, guy. Yeah, okay.
That was a synth sound. Wait a minute.
Random synth hits right there. Yeah, let's stop the show. Yeah. Sample that, someone. So yeah, sorry about that. Go ahead.
But basically it's like I feel like I have to define myself down into things. Is like, okay, so I have to say I'm ambient, I'm chill beats, down tempo, and I'm house, and so, but then there's all sorts of ways where the 3 of those all mix together, but I might not be mixing those all together. I'm just
yeah. and who's to say that something that just has like little synth notes in it, all you got to do is for instance, put a couple trap drums on it, and you've got now a trap beat. I'm just saying, like, it's not that far away, because what happened with me, which is kind of funny, is that I never even considered anything that I ever put together trap. And I joined this online community called Computer Music Academy, which is a great platform for people who are interested in putting their music online and having an opportunity to have other people hear it. And, at the time they were doing a weekly homework assignment, and you would go on and you would present something and they would put it out to the public. And so it was really cool. I got into that, did that. And then, I remember somebody saying, he does trap style beats. And, during the broadcast, he was just saying, he does trap style beats. And I was like, trap style beats?
What?
Me, didn't really register. And I had to ask. I literally, if you're watching, you know who you are. I had to ask and say, what makes it trap style? Well, tell me, because I don't know, because I grew up in hip hop when I joined the military. That was it. Like, I was a heavy metal guy. So I joined the military. I was introduced to hip hop. When I was growing up in hip hop, it was Southern, it was Southern. So for me, it was a lot of hi-hats and the bouncy stuff, fast cadence rappers that really, really go. And that turned into what you're now here as trap, for the most part. And it's spread, but I love all music,
Yeah.
and even more specifically, live people that are attempting to do something in a live environment where there's like no room for error, zero. You have to figure it out. Like, you don't get to do it again. You have one chance to do it right. And we talked about this. You and I were talking about how,
and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how do you, I think you had mentioned to me, a question posed like, what are your goals or something, or, something to that effect, or what do you see in the future? Man, if I could become one with whatever it is I'm doing, if I can reach for a knob or reach for a button and know exactly what it's going to do, that's the goal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Complete control.
Yeah, I mean, for one, that's why I just say, hey, I'm learning my tools now. If you like the sounds that are coming out, great. If you don't, great. But my ego isn't in that, because I'm trying to get to a higher place right now, and just kind of like having you guys come along for the ride for your benefit, maybe, if you're trying to do the same thing, that sort of thing.
There's so much to learn from each other.
Right. But as far as the live goes, see, that's why I come from an acoustic background, not just acoustic, but psychologically, I was always against the idea of electronic music. I'm not electronic music, but like just of playing that, of having anything to do with it myself, of creating anything like that, because I actually, for just a lot of me and for a lot of my life, I've latched on to that idea that it's somehow fake, like fake sounds, like
Right.
it's not real instruments. It's not real instruments. It's just trying to be instruments. Like, I mean, I consider myself, a marginally intelligent human being, but I just am kind of ashamed of all my life. I've carried with me some prejudices that way. And so now that I'm into electronic music and stuff, I still carry with me that acoustic soul of like, it's about, you learn the instrument first to where you're comfortable with it, to a point where it's just muscle memory. Like
absolutely,
you reach for it and you know what to do. And with this stuff, that's what I want to create too, is where it just becomes like an instrument, like muscle memory, even though it's electronic, and I put it together and program it in ways that'll help me.
I cannot believe you just said what you just said. Can I read you something real quick? Let me see. Yeah. I wrote something down earlier today, and this is what I mean about we all find each other. I know that I've said this before. I think people that are like-minded, like this collective consciousness type thing, I think that we just seem to find each other somehow, okay, where is it here?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I wrote it down here. Okay. Well, basically, I had written down here somewhere that what the goal would be to get it to, you're able to, right here. So the vision, I guess that's what you had asked me, the vision. Yes. Right. Live spontaneous music videos, full intuitive integration of hardware and muscle memory.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Tell me that's not weird right there. Like, so awesome. The setup process is mostly, the setup is mostly just a lot of like laborious, tedious kind of, like you have to get to know this stuff. And then once you get to that point, once it's intuitive, then you get a chance to really have some fun,
Yeah. And so that's really important. It's really important to get to know things, but that's kind of hard when you are starting out and you don't really know which things are going to work better and which things don't. You don't even know what to get.
Yep.
Like, you know, and
It's
so
so
it's
true.
so hard to get lost in all the distractions and the distractions of YouTube as well. And it's just like, okay, well, I want this function to do this thing, but you know, in the end, you might find out later that you never even really needed that for your music, you know?
Yeah. Yes. And yeah, I mean, I remember this very conversation that I had with somebody else. I don't remember if it was on a live stream or what it was, but actually, I think it was in the Marco group. You guys probably remember this then. It's like whether you're brand new to music production or you're like you're an obsessive compulsive buyer. Like they look the same, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
If you're new to like this, you know, because you want to do music, but you want to do it in an organic, real time scenario. So you have to try it tons. Luke Cage is in here. This guy's been buying stuff in the past to try new things, to try to, spread his horizons. And, he's got some really nice stuff too. He's got some vintage equipment and whatnot. And I think that we all, whether you come from a professional background or you're brand new to something, there's a learning curve and everybody's just at different stages, but it can really look like obsessive compulsive buying because you buy something and you don't need it. So then what? You buy something else or you sell it and buy what you need. It's just pretty simple. Like you don't really have an option when it doesn't work.
Well, I'm definitely glad that there are good markets for that, so that
absolutely.
You try something out, which you have to do, and you find out that it didn't fit in what you needed, and
What do you recommend for online services?
Well, Reverb is what I always use because I've almost set up a store and contemplated setting up a store myself because I have so many like MIDI controllers and stuff that
right.
piling up, and I'm like, but I don't know. I still actually haven't got enough stuff that I feel like I should open a store and start selling. But
I've had this thought. I went to there's this great place have you ever been to Austin, Texas before?
No.
Okay, so there's this place called Switched On. Now, if you live in the Texas area and you're into synths, you know about this place most likely. But this place, it's got to be top 5 in the world. And
yeah, I saw your video on that. Yeah,
you have. I loved that place because they carry like Oberheim. They carry like really nice stuff. Like they bring them in and they fix them. So I had a semi, back and forth. I don't know what you would call it, but an email chain, I guess, with the owner Switched On because about 2 years ago, I was going through Berklee School of Music, their online Ableton course, which is awesome. Like I learned how to perform with the push live. And so I was trying to figure out what am I going to do, and I thought I could go around and buy old equipment and fix it and sell it and like just run around and find things in people's closet and make money and blah, blah, blah. But it's a lot. You have to have a passion for anything that you do.
Yeah.
And that wasn't my passion. I think what the passion for me is the community portion of what we do.
Oh yeah. And I feel like everything, all the good fortune I've gotten and everything good that's happened in my studio has been in somewhat part to the community actually that I've been a part of and witnessed while trying to start out all this stuff and research what I am supposed to do. And I gained a lot of friends and stuff. And in all my search for synths and whatnot, I end up getting into modular, and all my voices are made by somebody who I just met, is just a guy who I got to meet, and that's crazy.
It is. That's great. So what is it back there that you're, do you want to give us a little, maybe a little overview of what you're doing over there?
Yeah, it doesn't take long because it's just very simple right now, and it's not not actually a complete system for what it is.
But like you know what you know, but somebody else might see that and be like, oh my Lord, what is all that stuff?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I mean, this is the DFAM, and this can work with all the Eurorack stuff, but it doesn't need to be racked up. And so, yeah, so I don't have it racked up right now because it needs power. And that's part of the thing is like, I need another power module. I've got kind of going into 2 rows now, but I've only got the power enough for 1 row.
Okay.
So I've got that going on. And so I can't use all the modules I have all at once. So I have smaller projects, right?
Okay. Because I have no idea how it works. So you're teaching me something right now.
Yeah, right. So, okay. So the reason why I've gotten more voices without an ability to play them yet is because I did get them from a retailer he was actually a module maker who made these modules kind of special to look absolutely unique to the way he makes them, because usually these are Mutable Instruments modules originally, which is a company that makes these modules, but they made it open source, and a bunch of people make their own modules off of the same PCBs. So they're the same synthesizers, they're the same module.
So is it a DIY or is it just
DIY? Yeah, it's a DIY. Or somebody can just take it, and who knows how, which is the guy that I'm the Afterlater Audio, who I got these from. He just takes the PCBs and does everything himself. He, I think, sources the stuff himself. Because it's open source. And so, yeah, DIYing. So he does it DIY, but he has actually been doing it. He's been making and repairing synthesizers for over 15 years, a very long time. So he's kind of like, he can just make things.
Maybe we can find it. Yeah, maybe we can find a link to his place of business, and maybe we put it in the description. Does he have a business?
Yeah, it's Afterlater Audio, and he now has a website.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. You can buy modules off of his website, but I always have off of Reverb, because and there's a lot other manufacturers that do the same thing. And yeah, it was really exciting to be able to see him at the modular event in Seattle, Velocity, that I just went to this last Saturday. I've been having trouble editing the video to make a highlights video of my whole trip and to this wonderful big synth event in Seattle. That everyone would be really interested in if they saw more about it. But I'm going to have quite a few more hours left to go of editing.
Okay.
With
right. We'll be looking forward to it. Yeah, we'll be looking forward to it.
Sometime next week, I'll have a highlights video of the whole thing, and it was really nice going through the trade show and just talking to everybody. Talking to different synth manufacturers. But anyway, I was back to my rack. Basically, just long story short, I've got 3 Platzes, 1, 2, 3, and these are macro oscillators, which is basically like they have 16 modes in them that are different types of synthesis, basically different types of ways of making sound, involving 3 different knobs to modulate them each. So 16 different synths in one module. Nice. 3 knobs to modulate each one of those modes, however you want. Great. And they've got melodic ones on the left 8 side, and the right 8 side of modes is like percussion, is more percussion. Like it's got your hi-hats, it's got a bass, it's got a snare. And these knobs will just kind of allow you to tweak your snare how you want it, basically, that way. So I've got 3 of those and two Rings modules, and these are also originally Mutable Instruments modules as well. And Rings is really amazing because it's a physical modeling synth that can do a lot of different bars, strings, and plates is how they call it.
Yeah, I'm going to eventually get there. I started on one side of the earth, and I'm making my way across the other side of the earth. So I will eventually get to the modular stuff. I actually started a project. What's that?
Right on, right on.
Yeah,
I was hoping
yeah,
you'd say that.
yeah. I started a project and well, let's just say after I got it to the point where it was usable, so I started putting together my idea of like what I would want as like a Eurorack performance system, I guess. And so I bought 6 Volcas. I bought the sample FM, I bought the keys, the beats, the kick, and the what was the other one? The bass. And
Right.
then I bought 2 Volca mixes. So I built this contraption, which is just right here, and I painted it. I built it by hand. I cut all the wood. I sanded every. This is what I do. I mean, everything in my whole studio, I've built myself.
Yeah, that's how I found you out, was from that video where you were revealing what you've done with it so far.
Okay. So you've been waiting ever since to find out what the hell happened to that thing.
Yeah,
So similar to you, I will get around. Actually, I have a ton of footage. My eyes are terrible. Like I get really bad migraines with editing videos, and that's why I had to try to go live more often than not. But yeah, so I've got this thing sitting right here, and I was using it yesterday, and because I wanted to have something concrete to share with you while we're on live, like something similar, just like let me just kind of dive into something somebody else is doing a little bit and just try to like feel it and whatnot. And so I was using the Deluge as the sequencer, and I was sequencing the drums for the Volca beats, and then the kick was coming out of the Volca kick, and then I was just using the bass, the keys, and the FM. And so I just had like 5 or 6 different little sequences going, and it was cool. It was cool. I really liked it. It wasn't complicated. It's just little bleeps and bloops, but I could feel it. And then I threw the Force underneath it and put some heavy bass type synth sounds on top of it, and it sounded good. So
yeah,
I'm going to keep working on it.
The first things that I started seeing like 3 years ago or so online that was like making me get interested in like, oh, what could I possibly do and afford? Because I was thinking really small back then. I was like, well, I want a synth, but maybe you could make a pro sound out of a Volca, and
or a Moog, like one of those Moog Werkstatts, right? I used to think I could make a Voyager out of a Werkstatt. Yeah. So,
but But see, okay, so fast forward to things like the Force. This has been my 3 years long sort of haven't got it yet frustration. My studio's not a studio yet, right? Is I have no big sequencer to sequence a bunch of synths with, right? And so there's always been this thing. And what I did to start out before I went hardware was Ableton with the Launchpad. Using the Launchpad 95 scripts that make it into a push.
Okay.
Not really, but the sequencer functionality of push. And that turned it into a Groovebox when I made templates for Ableton, right? Of just like empty clips. And then I could go into that, and it's like a looper, right? But only for MIDI and playing, right?
Yeah.
But I could do that. And see, that was amazing. And I was like, yeah, this is great. But I still dealt with the computer. And so I was looking at the circuit and going, well, what I really need is a circuit.
Right.
And so I got a circuit and got into that. And that's kind of the direction.
Yeah, the circuit is another really good alternative, or not alternative, but a really good, it's a great sequencer. It's a great synth. I mean, people really underrate its voices, the capability of it, because it's so limited in its knobs and whatnot. But what I've found is the ease of access of everything being right at your fingertips. I know when you first get it, you're kind of like, oh, this workflow is kind of weird. But what you find out is the ability to hold down, like with a circuit, see if I can do.
Yeah.
Like with a circuit, you have all your menus and whatnot. And if you want to get into your menu, you don't click it and then do whatever and then click it again to go back. You just hold it down, change something, and let it go. And you're good to go.
And you're back to the original page that you were on, whatever page it was.
You never lost it. Right.
Still there. Yeah, so you can go into your mixer and mute things, and you're back and still playing notes.
Exactly.
I love that. I was just doing that when you caught me playing, actually.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I caught you. And that's one thing that is missing with the push. Now, you would talk to me about if I thought it was a good, knowing what is out there right now, is it still, oh, my dog, is it still a viable solution as a controller? And my answer is absolutely yes. And the other thing is, one thing that I would do if I was buying a push and I was just getting into Ableton is I would have an iPad. I would have an iPad because Touchable 3 is a great way to control the other side. Like if you have your push, you still have to go back and forth between the modes. That sucks. Like you have to go between session view and note view. Right. So you want to launch a clip, you can launch a clip on the push, but then to play the notes, you have to go back over to note view. So you don't have, like, that's the one thing that I would say about the push is that it like with the Force, you're able to have one thing up top on the screen and one thing down on the bottom.
Right.
So you can do two things at once. So
yeah, that's why I was thinking the Force might be just the end all be all, maybe that
at
way.
some point it might be, but right now I don't believe it is.
Yeah, and I've heard some people say that they were a little frustrated with just not being able to feel it. You know,
the MIDI stuff is a problem. So the MPC Live and MPC X, they don't do multi-timbral MIDI input, so you can't have more than one MIDI note coming in at a time to a destination. You know,
I wanted to Ken Flux talk about that on the Beat People podcast.
Say that again.
The Beat PPL podcast.
Okay.
Ken Flux was talking about that and complaining about it. It was like 6 months ago or longer. But yeah, about the MPC and how you can only do one MIDI input at a time, and it doesn't really work for synth players so much.
No, it doesn't work for anybody that has more than one piece of equipment.
Multi-tracking.
Yeah, you can't record like with the Deluge. No, if you want an end all be all, there it is. So the Deluge is able to do multi-timbral. I can run. I've got a MIDI merger, so I've got a 10 input MIDI merger, and they can all go into the Deluge all at the same time, and I can play this keyboard and that keyboard and over here and over there and never have to touch anything, and it records everything.
Yeah, it is its own MIDI merger and splitter.
Absolutely. Yep. It does pretty much everything that I've ever wanted a piece of equipment to do. You know? Yeah. I mean, and then with the integration of the the pads as the screen, like the waveform view and all that.
Yeah.
It really interesting machine, and they're doing a lot of work.
I started out with the RC505 loop station. And, so basically I was thinking, okay, well, this can be my studio, right? This can be my multi-track studio, but it's not really set up to be that way. And even if you do, even if things are set up to be synced before you go as a looper, that doesn't mean that what you put into it in each channel is actually going to be synced perfectly with the last channel. And you have to really do a lot of setup and whatnot. And so what I always kind of felt like I was missing, and one reason why I absolutely had to go into the DAW and try Ableton Live was that I had no way of start and end points. Change the start and end point or nudge it a little bit so that it's actually on time to what I was doing after the fact. And I can't do that with just a looper pedal or something like the RC505. And so there you go.
Yeah, and that's and I guess with the RC505, we're talking about straight audio only, and I love, you had asked me, why do I work in the looper? That was another question you had asked. The looper is all audio, and I think that for me, what I want to do is I want to get audio into a realm that I can start to mangle it. So once it's there, then I can apply, beat repeats and apply different effects to it. The way I've recently figured out is with the MPCX, you have a multi-touch screen. So you can control several effects parameters at the same time, just using the touchscreen as a MIDI controller. So that's what I found myself doing a lot, is getting loops playing back in a track and then just mangling them in real time. And it's very easy, and you'll never get the same result twice. I think that's why I like it so much.
I noticed that in your last video. It was great. I think you did the you reversed it and just like,
yeah. It kind of like changes things, every time you change a tiny little parameter. And then the cool thing is that you can assign a track as a resample and then start sending the ones that you like into a resample track. And then when you have the whole track filled with a bunch of different clips, then you just shut the loopers off and keep going with the ones you've already recorded. So this is like a whole way to do this, in my mind.
Yeah. And so that likens back to, I think, like what this is all about for me, trying to get my workflow right, is all about getting to where I can stay in that moment, and appreciate the moments and take the moments and use those moments when they're good, and have them and keep them and keep going and build like that. And so like do that instead of a lot of, brain functionality to like, this is where my notes are supposed to go. I want to play live, for that reason, because I really feel like I'm an empty vessel. Like it's not even me that's doing it. It's all my influences just coming at me all at once. And it's the magnitude of the moment, of where you are, when you are, that makes the music. It's not so much you as you want to think it is in your ego, It really is.
I totally agree. And I think the hardest part for performing live is that you have to allow yourself to be okay with wherever it's taking you at that moment, because I kind of have this problem where I preconceive how something should sound. So even without an exact direction, as soon as I start hearing something, I'm like, that doesn't sound like I thought it was going to sound. And then I get thrown off because I'm like in my head more than I should be. It's a creative space. And, Inky talks about it all the time. If you're thinking, you're not having fun. So I think the fun happens when it's muscle memory.
Yeah.
So actually somebody had asked a question. Phil was asking, what can someone do with one of those synth modules? Like he's just saying, what would one do? What can one do with one?
Well, yeah. Okay. So, just quickly, the Platts it's got classic, which is like a classic bass synth that has a square wave and a sort of a square wave with pulse width modulation and a triangle to saw. And so it's kind of like your vintage synth. And then it's got a wave shaper one. So like for wave folding, and wave folding is a special sound in and of itself. That's totally
sounds complex.
Yeah. And then there's FM synthesis, and FM sounds sound totally unique. And then you can do formant sounds, which are like vowel, like wow. You add filters onto different type of filters onto each other, and in a sort of way, it kind of sounds like that. And then you've also got another vowel thing that's just like playing back voices that are in here.
Okay.
Like audio of words, of like numbers and all that stuff. And then, so yeah, it's just, wavetable. You've got a chords one. So it plays a chord instead of just that one root note. It automatically plays a chord up from there. And one of the knobs decides whether it's a 3-note chord or a 7th chord or a 9th chord, and go up like that.
And that's going to take some muscle memory to be able to do all that in real time.
And see, just that module, it's a totally multifunction module, as you'd call it. And so it takes some deep diving, and that's why I'm in the middle of doing a series that's the Platts video manual.
Ooh,
nice. And so I'm just going to do a video on each one of the modes. just to say this is this is this is this. So you don't have to watch a whole big video on like, what does Platts do? Oh my gosh,
That's great. That's great. I think you're gonna definitely be able to explain these things quite well. And a lot of people can't do it. There's a lot of people that can't teach. They don't have the ability to kind of verbalize the things that they're feeling. And
yeah, and this is practice time for me. I'm one of those people who can't really. I'm not doing it right yet. I'm learning every video I see. Oh, whoops! And then like, my last, I did the second Platts video already and put it out, and I think that one, either that one or the one before it, I'm putting my hand over the knobs a lot to where you can't see it. So it's like, oh. Well,
okay, so that's what those were. Okay, I've seen those videos. I thought it was something that was coming in the future. Yeah, I did see those videos. Those were awesome.
I've only done the first two, so I want to, go. I got to finish it and all that stuff.
Right. And another thing, it's another thing is your time. Like you have to have the time to do this stuff and to learn. And I mean, not everybody gets to sit in their studio 16 hours a day like I do. Most of you guys are doing this stuff while you're keeping a job and like doing all this stuff. So I just don't understand. Say that again?
I have no time. I pretty much I come back from work at midnight, and that's when I have time to do it because everybody's asleep, and that's pretty much it.
I mean, we need some of that in our life right there. Because man, that was super loud. If I could find an hour in the day anywhere and know that I'm going to do this, and this for that time, it would be a miracle. Like everything that happens in my life is just spontaneous, mostly, but it's hard because you sit in this space and, you kind of get numb to it after a while, so finding people like yourself helps me a lot. Like the communications that we all have as a group helps me tremendously. It helps me to stay kind of connected and not lose. Like, I mean, geez, I'm in a damn basement, like 16 hours a day, like you can lose reality pretty damn quick.
Yeah. So I'm really motivated. A lot of us are really motivated out there. And I think it's good to know, just to see somebody else and know that it's not just me that's like, oh my gosh, what is oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? Like, I want to do all this stuff. I've got dreams, and like, what is all this stuff, and how do I do it, and all that. And I am just motion to the ocean. This is what I think about. I mean, I have a full-time job, and I have a 4-year-old, and I'm Mr. Mom to the 4-year-old all day long until I go to my job, right? And so, like, I don't allow myself any time like that, except for, in my head while I'm working. I mean, luckily I've got a nice job, like a custodial job where I can just have my own brain and not have to give my brain to somebody else all day long at my job. I can even wear headphones, so I have the luxury of being able to listen to music and research other people's videos, and listen to people talk about synths all night long at my job. Right.
And the positive attitude is so important. It's so important because nobody wants to hear somebody, everybody has problems, right? Doesn't everybody has stuff going on in their life, everybody does.
Hey, I'm not even going to talk online about, today was crazy. This morning was crazy for me. I mean, it's crazy.
I'm sure. And, we could all talk about some things that we probably shouldn't online, just because it's like not a space, I guess, for everything, I guess we just give what we can. And, but yeah, oh, right. Exactly. We probably need to do a weekly vent podcast, right? And just get rid of it all. Yeah. But let's see. There was a couple of the things in here. Yeah, I mean, people are just saying that they're just agreeing with you, pretty much, is what I'm saying. Like, everybody's just trying to get by. Everybody's trying to learn. Everybody's just trying to do their thing, and we all are connected in that way.
Yeah, thanks, Enki. This shirt is from Thailand.
It is, huh? Where did you get it?
I didn't go, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
thrift shop thing, but it's from Thailand.
that's cool, man. That's cool. I appreciate it because it does brighten up the room a little bit because I'm a little
Yeah.
dark down here.
Wow,
So
actual bright colors.
that's right. That's right. Not artificial bright colors in the back here.
Oh no, that's cool too.
Yeah.
I love the contrast of the two studios here.
Well,
It's
yeah. I
different
mean,
approaches. They're both very cool.
yeah, and that's just the thing is it doesn't really matter what everybody's doing as long as everybody is just supportive and support. I think that it goes a long way, and the YouTube community is quite supportive. I think that a lot of people see it as negative, but you have to sift through. Like you have to sift through. There are good people, so
Yeah.
you just have to find them. So let me ask you a couple questions. So what's your favorite movie?
Oh, yeah. No, it's what I've always said was my second favorite movie all throughout my life, but it's actually ended up being my first because my first favorite movie always just changes to whatever's new.
Okay. Yeah.
So it really is basically, yeah, the old Dune,
Dune.
from the late 70s.
Okay.
Late 70s. David Lynch, the David Lynch version. It was based on the books
Okay.
by Frank Herbert. Yeah, and it's this big sci-fi movie, and it was that only while it was on broadcast on television, but not for the later release of it. There was a 4-hour version out, and it broadcast on television, and we actually recorded it, and so we even got those 80s commercials and stuff in there.
Oh wow.
It's great. But it's it's this great sci-fi movie. Yeah, definitely recommend it to anybody. But Toto, the band Toto, who does Africa, right?
Yep.
They did the soundtrack, and there's this big 45-minute intro to the movie in the long version that's really great too. But anyway, yeah, it's like that's partially what makes the movie is this dun, 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 with electric guitars and everything.
Yeah.
And it's just so epic. The whole movie is just so epic the whole time. And it's just, and for me growing up, I had so many ideas in my head of worlds and stuff because of that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Blade Runner did that for me. The soundtrack just took me to another level with synthesis. Like, I don't even know how I ended up being into it. Kind of just was a by accident thing. I was just trying to make music on an iPad, and I found Animoog, like that's
good stuff.
Yeah, and once I started messing with that, and I could see, because I'm very visual, even though I was blind at one point. So like I have some vision now, which is great. But I was actually able to see the sine waves, and I was like, wow, this is so cool, because I could move a parameter and I could see what it did to that. And just from there, it just grew, my love for synthesizers and stuff like that. And of course, I was always, from 1819 into hip hop. And so it just seemed like samplers and hardware synths seemed natural for me. So I guess that's kind of how I ended up going that route. But so what was the last movie that you went and saw at the movie theater?
At the movie theater, I don't even remember what it was. Yeah, I do. The new Mary Poppins.
Okay, Mary Poppins. Epic movie. Epic movie. Very manly. Very manly.
It was very much like the first one, and I always used to cry at
I cried. Bambi was always the one that got me. That one and Short Circuit.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
Johnny Five. When Johnny Five dies. Oh, if you haven't seen the movie, my bad. But when Johnny Five dies, I cried. I was like so sad. I was like, what?
We cry over robots.
I know. Why does he have to die? He's the best part of the movie, blah blah blah. And I was 36 when I saw it for the first time. So I was just bawling my eyes out as an old man.
But the great thing about people like Spielberg and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Robert Zemeckis people
Like the
that.
Transformer movies are great and all that. So, well, you said you hadn't been to Thailand. Have you done any traveling at all within the state, without outside the
Well,
state?
I haven't done much traveling actually. Well, except all around the U.S. When I was when I was in my 20s, I kind of was a rambling man and just kind of traveled around all around. Um, but while I was in college, I studied Japanese and Japanese culture all 4 years of college, and I went over there, and I even stayed over there for 3 months,
Wow,
and so
that's
that's kind of
awesome.
been my thing.
That's
Um,
amazing. I thought you said you hadn't done any.
yeah, well, not much.
That
Yeah,
Jesus.
but I've been to Japan and back, and I would really like to go again. And there's a lot of places in the world I'd like to go, and I'm just hoping
Amazing though.
that maybe money will help with that. Just kind of like as my daughter grows, that maybe we'll be able to do what it takes to have some funds to go around and travel together. Would be great.
You will. You will. My daughter is 17 now, and when she was 4, we were living in a homeless shelter. Like, actually, it was about she was 5, so right around that age. I just remember us. Our fun night was the dollar movie night at the cinema down the road. They did it for $1, so we'd go in there on a Wednesday, and that was our fun time. And she remembers this stuff. So I guess really it doesn't take a lot, to be there and be a good parent, And I think that karma is a real thing. So I always feel like as long as you're doing the right thing in life, eventually you will get to where you want to be. That's just how I feel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And definitely having a kid just changes everything in your perspective, and
It does.
of course you always know it will, but you still never know until it happens. So
Yeah, it's amazing to see your kid grow up too, looking at colleges now and stuff like that. It's quite crazy. But all right, so
it,
one other question here. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I just along those lines, that's why I always say it helps to, anyway, we kind of all know it helps to curb your ego and not have too much ego when you're creating music and whatnot. And we're trying to do this stuff, it's better to not have so much ego about it, right? And that's one reason why I can just always not have ego about this, is because I always have this thought that it's for her and not.
Yes, I think that's a great thought.
Like it's so that she can find a way that ways for her creativity as she grows up, that to actually feel like she could make money being creative. She could have her own business being creative. She could find ways to do for herself and not have to live the job life, because of stuff like this,
What you're saying is at the very basic core, at worst case scenario, you're paving a way for her to do that if she wants to.
Right.
You're setting it up for her, and it's a great positive outlook on it too. I mean, it's so easy to be like, there's way too many people out there. This is never going to work. It's just not the way to go about, trying to achieve anything.
Yeah, it's hard. That's a hard, desperate way to go at it. If it's just going to be all about you, you can't.
All or nothing. Yeah.
Creativity too.
Right. Yeah. So what is one piece of equipment that you've never owned, okay, that you could own that doesn't, we're not talking about like if you have enough money. What's one piece of equipment, if you were in a candy store full of equipment, that you would pick?
The Hydrosynth.
Whoa, okay. All right. So the newest, biggest, baddest thing out. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, you're gonna think that I'm just going off the next newest thing. I think that it just happened, and before that, it's been the Peak.
I love the Peak.
Because I love the style and whatnot, and I could even find a way to rack mount it well enough. But the thing is, the Hydrosynth, What I've been doing a lot lately is working, in my Platts modules. They have wavetables, and I think wavetables have changed my outlook on like all synths in general, and different synthesis modes. Like so if I can have different waves in a wavetable synth that do a certain thing, um, uh, that'll cover vintage synths, and then
Yeah.
I have waves that'll cover my FM synthesis, and waves that'll cover some physical modeling.
It's a smart
I
approach.
I feel like something like that can really cover more bases.
Absolutely. And isn't that really what Euro and modular is about? Is like kind of like building your own. I've seen people build some massive. Like, are you into Colin Benders at all?
Yeah, I definitely keep on watching his stuff because YouTube has made him like the one of the go-to. Like if you type in synths or anything like that, they'll always show you some Colin Benders performances.
I will put some in the description. Also, I'm going to link Mr. Basic's YouTube channel in the description as well. But Colin Benders that's a man that I think he said he spent 2 full years. Wow, I got a wasp. Where the heck are these things coming from?
Oh no.
Yeah. He spent 2 full years in a basement learning his learning Euro. You're learning modular, however you want to say it. What's the difference between Euro and modular?
Well, yeah, modular is everything. Eurorack is just specifically this tall of a format.
Okay, it's a different form. So it's a size format.
Yeah, so Eurorack is the size format, and it's all modular. So I like to say modular. A lot of people say my Eurorack. Well, I would like for everybody to say modular instead, because
Right.
That reason.
Okay. Because I just thought I'd ask. So Colin Benders does these progressive building of music in real time, and he does it with giant modular equipment. Like he's built this thing, and it's got, I don't know, it's probably got a dozen or more oscillators on it. It's got sequencers, and he's able to do polyphony with it, being able to send things to different places and getting polyphony chords even out of these things. And it's so beautiful the way he's able to do that, and the way he's able to slowly bring it in. And then all of a sudden you've got like a really hard, like techno beat to modular. And a lot of people, it's hard. A lot of people are trying to do stuff like that. And it's more, I see a lot of people, they will do something, they'll program something and just let it play. Right. But he's like doing it. He knows, he grabs this knob, he knows what that thing's going to do. He's plugging this cord, in, and he knows what it's going to do. So, props to anybody that knows their equipment to that level. And that takes a lot of time.
Thing is, I don't like so much people who go at it and go like, hey, it's who talk about it like it's such a mystery, and all sorts of things could go crazy and all that. And that might be true, but really it's just the functions are the same functions they're going to be. Modules have the same purpose that they're going to have, and if you learn that, then you know what you're doing, just like anything else. And so I want to spread that word about it. And with any kind of equipment,
as long as you can find a way to sync it and to clock it, then you're good. You're not going to have to worry about it taking off on you. Just find a way to sync it, or find a way to, what is it called? Like beat sync or whatever. I don't know. But I know.
That's why my monostation just ended up, it's got an analog clock out. So it can finally, my DFAM can finally play well with everything.
That's great. And I know I saw your video where you talked about that, where you're saying, thank goodness that you're able to do that now. It does, I mean, maybe it gives it a more, maybe it's more organic and a little loopy to not have it clocked, but at the same time, you're trying to figure out what it is you're doing. Like,
you don't want to be limited to that and not be able to.
Exactly. That's the thing, is I think you and I both, we get caught up in having the ultimate control over everything, rather than having be just good enough. It's like, wait a minute, but it can control that thing too. So why don't I try to do that? And then that can control that. And then next thing you know, like 4 hours have gone by and you haven't eaten. It's super easy to get lost in this stuff.
Totally.
So do you have your favorite piece of equipment you've ever owned, or was it something in the past that you've ever owned?
Shoot. Sorry. My favorite piece of equipment I guess it's the Monostation right now.
Okay.
Because it just sounds the best, and I'm just playing it a lot, and I'm just really playing it as I'm just playing notes along with the circuit being my drum machine.
Okay.
And I'm not even like making sequences and saving them. Like,
right.
Like,
I know what you mean. The same thing. Yep.
Because I think it's the best bass sound I've ever heard out of this thing.
Thick. It is. It's very thick. Something very similar, though, I will say, is the MS-20 Mini.
Okay, yeah.
My MS-20, my Korg MS-20 Mini has a very, very, very thick, bass growl, and I guess it's got a low pass and high pass, so it's probably, I think that if I put those side by side, I think that the Monostation, because I have a Monostation also, and I think that the Monostation's a cleaner, thick bass sound, but I think that the MS-20 is louder, and it's more like there's more noise in it. Do you know what I mean? It's like the Monostation is super, super thick and heavy, but it's clean too,
Yeah.
So, all right, Monostation, he says. Okay. So, let's see.
But yeah, the thing is like, I wanted to, when I started thinking about building my studio, I thought that I would be filling my racks with synthesizers like this, right? But actually, I realized that now I've gotten all these Eurorack modules for my synths, right? So I'm getting my synths in Eurorack. So now, instead of thinking of a big sequencer, like say the Deluge that I've been looking at, or like, what I looked at before, like the MPC Live and the Octatrack and other things like that.
Yep.
So now I'm realizing that I'm just going to sequence inside the rack. I'm going to sequence all these voices inside the rack with a Hermod. And so that's my next purchase. But there's the deal is like, that's the big deal for me, is that I'm letting go of this idea of the big 16-track sequencer to control my studio, which I won't need now. Right. Even though I think the Deluge is king. I really do. And I'll tell everybody that it's the best.
Let's see. It seems to be, not only is it capable right now of doing a lot. I'm sorry. Could you say that again?
Well, I was gonna say, like, still for me, I found that the 707 is still gonna be like what I'm gonna pick up for something like that for all my backing tracks.
Okay. So you like the 707
over the Deluge because I like the form factor of that. It's kind of like how I've always wanted things, although I really like the circuit way of doing things, and how the Deluge is just a pro version of that. It's amazing. I have nothing bad to say about it, but I still think that, like, down the road, like in a year or so, I'll be getting the 707 and probably over the Deluge, and that's just a matter of style, I think.
Yeah, it's all just taste. It's all just, I think that it's really all about workflow at the end of the day. The gear is really, it's just what you can afford, what you can find, stuff like that. But there's so many factors in this, right? There's like the price, how soon can I get it? What kind of things does it do? Like, can I get it used? Like, there's so many factors in buying equipment. It's just, there's just, like, for me, it wasn't like a Moog or nothing, like I used to hear people say stuff like that. Like if it's not this, I don't want it. But for me, I just wanted something to do what I want it to do, and I don't really care who makes it. You know, I prefer certain things, but if somebody's going to make a sampler that has a touch screen, that has nice thick pads on it, that I can sample things in real time, and also I can record MIDI on separate tracks, I'll buy it. I'll sell my X. Like, I have no problems with that. But until I have something that can do what I want it to do, then I'm just going to keep what I have. So,
yeah, that MPC-X is really, I mean, to me, that really does seem like the sort of a perfect sort of thing there.
Like a workstation, it's great. But again, it doesn't do multi-timbral MIDI. So, you still need the Deluge for that. So if they can combine the two, which was supposed to be the Force, but the Force doesn't do multi-timbral MIDI either. So, hey, the Force is going to be good, but they're going to need to get some stuff straightened out, and I'm excited about it. But
cool.
Yeah. So was there any other like topics, anything else that you felt like you wanted to talk about today, or is there anything burning in your mind that you want to share with us?
Well, not really, actually. The thing is, I just went.
Oh, he's frozen. Let's see if he comes back to us. Is it him that's frozen, or is it me? Okay. Well, let's see here. Let me take a quick look and see if I can find this feed. I apologize if you're watching and I'm frozen, he's frozen. I guess this is part of live. This is what we call, or what I call, the live gremlins.
I'm sorry.
Oh, there you are. Hey,
probably me.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I was saying, there's a growing modular community in Seattle, and it's getting big, and it's getting huge. And like, there's always been stuff going on in Portland, and even in like San Francisco and LA. And everyone's just kind of like moving up and down the coast and getting together in that way too, which is cool. And so that basically, like, the Seattle's very first big modular related, modular focused trade show just happened this year, and it was the very first of its kind. But it's going to keep on going, and it's going to be getting bigger, and there's just going to be more and more of that, and maybe in other towns in America, and that I really think this kind of thing is just really blowing up, and that we are in a specific place in a specific time that's really exciting.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. And, I'm excited to see the things that come out of the woodworks in the next, year or even 18 months, because it feels like a very progressive time right now in music hardware. You got a lot of people that are trying to integrate software protocols and whatnot into hardware, and it's making it pretty competitive, So, hey, who knows? Maybe there'll be a standalone push, or there'll be, I don't know, an MPC-X 2 or an MPC Live 2, or I don't know. We'll just have to see
that computers and hardware are merging together in every way you could imagine. People are trying to do it.
Yeah, they are. They are. I think that's a lot of us. We're all trying to get the most effective workflow, and some of us fail and some of us are doing better, but it's just a matter of finding what you can use and trying it out, So, yeah, I mean, it's been a great talk. I really appreciate you coming on the channel and having us sit down and telling us a little bit. There is one other thing that I would personally like to have you and I have talked about this time in the woods, and this was something that I really wanted to hit on. And we're at the end of the show. I'd like to just to tell the people what you told me about, your evolution of the way you thought about things being out there and how you got there. Can you do that for us?
Yeah. So basically, whoa,
we might be having a little audio. Having a little
about that. But in my 20s, yeah, it's a little bit artifacts. I hope that's not too bad.
Is there a buffer setting in there that you can switch real quick?
Hello, hello. Hello, hello.
It's pretty, I can hear you, but I can't really hear exactly what it is that you're saying. It's kind of, it sounds like a noise I'm very familiar with.
Why is it doing that? I'm not sure why.
Oh, there you go. You're back.
Okay, awesome.
You're back. All right. So, yeah. So go ahead and do that.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, my 20s, I was kind of like, I would say I was, you know, just a rambling man alone doing my thing, you know, all my time after college, you know, and I could say that I was just a guy who's having a hard time ever finding and keeping a job for very long or something like that. But you know, that's like the negatives. But the thing is I almost I had so much fun and I did so much cool stuff and had so many adventures that it's almost like I retired early when I was in my 20s. But anyway, one of those things that I did when I didn't have any place to go or whatnot, or any direction or whatever to do in the place I was, is I went out into the woods and I just stayed out there for weeks at a time, even months at a time, sometimes with nobody else out there, you know. And because I was a Boy Scout and I learned all that stuff and got into it thanks to my dad and everything, I was blessed that way to be out in nature a lot. But the thing is, it was just me and my little G marimba, like 8-note G major marimba, and my voice. And every day, I would be writing like 3 different songs every day that and I would just be, redoing and rehashing all of these songs, and I would just come up with more.
Are you still there? Hey, can you guys stop? Hello, anybody there? Okay. There's a lot happening right now. I really apologize, Mr. Basic. I'm not sure if it's your end, my end. Oh, he's coming back. Oh, he's back. He's back.
Yeah,
okay.
Looks like I'm having a few.
That's okay. This is what happens. This is live. So do you think you can just pick it up where you were there?
Yeah. So the point is that out there, I basically learned that you can just write just constantly. If you have all the time in the world, you can write consistently, and this to the freedom of brain to do so, you can just plain let it flow out of you. And since I learned how to do that, it's just been second nature to me to just get down and jam. And I spent some time sitting in on a noise band for years. We would go like every few weeks. We would just sit down and do our thing and record ourselves. And I've done so much jamming that I just really feel like it's if you're jamming, you're really in tune with the nature of what music really is, and you can get out of tune with that if you're just worried about making tracks and what's going to happen with that.
That is the essence, I think, of what we're doing. What a lot of people are doing is just trying to be one with music, to feel it, to be in the moment. And I guess that's the whole thing about the looper thing. Like, to me, that I'm able to get out of the analytical side. Once the audio is in to the looper, then I can focus on the sounds, so. But I really do appreciate you coming in here. I got like noises all over the place. Oh my God, it's horrible. So thank you guys, everybody, for being here. Thanks, Phil, for being here. Thanks, Inky. Oh my God. And this, hold on. He wants the spotlight here for just a second here. Look at him. He wants the spotlight. Okay. So thank you very much, Mr. Basic. And I'm going to put a link to your YouTube channel. No problem. And anybody else, you go find Mr. Basic and check out his channel, and make sure you subscribe. So we'll take care. You guys take care. See you guys.